We know that witnesses of the same event never report exactly the same account of an incident. In the Bible, we have 4 gospel accounts by 4 different writers written over an unknown span of time covering the 1st century AD. Each of them contains a slightly different account of events, as a witness record should. In reality, witnesses to the same event rarely recall or report the event in identical terms. When recording witness reports, there can be considerable differences in the recall that each witness reports. Those collecting witness accounts understand that they will produce slightly different versions of what happened. It is the same with the Bible. There should be contradictions and inconsistencies in the text because real witnesses don't report identical versions of an event. The collectors of the Bible understood this simple truth, that all the documents agreeing was not something that burdened their decision-making process. Their focus was on whether the community at large had accepted these documents over a long period of time and found them useful. To them, broad consensus was the only evidence of quote-unquote divine inspiration. As far as we know, most of the original apostles could not write well enough to record anything. Matthew, because of his career as a tax collector, may have been literate enough, but the rest are questionable. That is the reason we don't have a large body of documents written by the apostles themselves. Fortunately, the number of disciples was much larger than the 12 apostles' disciples of Jesus' inner circle. Stories of events would have been written down and collected over time by groups of followers looking to preserve accurate accounts of what happened. The writer of Luke and Acts does not even claim to be a witness to the things he wrote in the gospel he authored. In fact, the Gospel of Luke is not a book at all. It is a letter written to a Roman leader to convert him to Christianity. Luke was a physician and a Gentile, a non-Jew, who was not present to witness the events he wrote about. Acts was a continuation of Luke's letter. All of the writings of Paul are letters to churches he had visited, with the exception of the letter he wrote to the church at Rome. Paul was not trying to write scripture or contribute to the Bible. He was writing letters to people he knew, addressing situations that he needed to address among the church congregations he'd planted. A number of books, including Revelation, remained in serious doubt by the early church and still remains in question by modern scholars today. Over time, all of these facts were forgotten, and 66 documents of the Bible took on an almost magical quality. People stopped reading the letters and books as intended and started to extract passages they deemed most useful or that supported their particular view of Christian doctrine. When the writers of the Bible talk about scriptures, they are talking about what we would consider the Old Testament. At the time they wrote, they were largely unaware of most of the other documents deemed as sacred.